Bingo, the 10 o'clock rock here on a given Tuesday. And we have a fabulous connection today with Waiakea High School. This is Think Tech Tech Talks on a given Tuesday with our guest Whitney Aragaki, who is a science teacher at Waiakea High School in Hilo, Hawaii Island. Welcome to the show, Whitney. Great to have you on with us.
Thanks, Jay. Nice to be here.
So introduce your students. One on the left is Blair, and the one on the right is Felix. So tell us about them.
Okay, so Blair, high school senior at Waiakea High School. He is in our Career Academy for the Business, Engineering, Science, and Technology Academy. The science fair project for his first time this year, but he is not any stranger to science research and computer science.
Okay.
Here is Felix Peng at Waiakea High School. He is also in the Business, Engineering, Science, and Technology Academy. He is class president for the class of 2006 swim team captain. He has been doing science fair since his 7th grade year.
Fabulous. Welcome to the show, gentlemen, all of you. Nice to have you with us. So the background of this show is that there we were with our camera at the science fair, walking around, saying hi to people, and there was my old friend, Dr. Neil Adabara, and he's from Hilo. We all know that innovation grows. I think it was invented in Hilo. It must be something in the water there, you know? So I mean, some of the most innovative people I know come from Hilo, and certainly Neil is one of them. And Neil was, for a long time, you know, in fact, he still is the poster child of the science fair, because he won the science fair back in 1912, I think it was. And that got him a scholarship to a great school on the mainland, and it made him an ophthalmologist, and he's one of the leading ophthalmologists in our state of Hawaii. And he has remained loyal and faithful to the science fair and its parent organization, the Hawaii Academy of Science, ever since then. For a long time, he was the president, and now he's just a wonderful supporter, always supporting, always there, and always appearing on our shows so he can explain what's going on. So there I am, walking around with my camera, and taking photographs. We made a great, by the way, if you haven't seen it, we made a great OC16 show. And you were on it, Whitney. And I think you were too, Felix, of that day. And he introduced me to you. And he said, you've got to talk to Whitney. You've got to get her on Skype and some of her students. And we're going to have a discussion about what goes on. And maybe it isn't just the water in Hilo. Maybe it's more than that. We're going to explore that today with you. So,
Sure.
Whitney, first I want to talk to you, and I'd like to know, what is the condition of science at Waiakea High School?
Science is amazing at Waiakea High School. You know, we've been out from the mountain sea, really, they're doing everything in science. Our robotics teams are amazing. They've been doing well on the national and international level. Our science fair students have been doing things fully and investigating things from the sea to computer science. And then our students are also doing work with the Mauna Kea observatories. So we've been all over the place, doing well, getting our students out there in the community, meeting new people, and all these new topics.
So that's wonderful. Why is that? I mean, is that you, Whitney, that you inspire them? What do you do to get them so excited? I mean, especially in the case of Felix and Blair.
I think that we have a team of science teachers that are willing to work with students and willing to go beyond themselves and beyond the classroom, and to get students to just explore their world, explore their local world. They go on to do amazing things. And a lot of the teachers here at Waiakea were also students at Waiakea. We have a passion for our Waiakea warrior family, and we hope to continue that tradition on for many years to come.
Oh yes, well I want to talk to you about the plan for that. But in the meantime, you know, I'd like to know what it's like from your point of view, because you clearly are motivated. You were motivated when I met you at the science fair, and you're motivated today, and you're completely all in on science. What makes it that way for you?
I think that just knowing that science is thing that I went throughout my high school career, my college career, graduate school, and everything else. This has been the one thing that I've come back to. Did science fair since sixth grade. I represented Waiakea Intermediate School, Waiakea High School at science fairs in district and state level. I did many different competitions that got me to the East Coast, to the South, to the West, everywhere. And I did science fair research in Alaska. So I've been all over the fair getting that word out that it's so important to do research beyond the classroom. And eventually that got me to get into college. I got into Swarthmore because of my science fair experience. And eventually it got me to graduate school where I was able to come home and work with the children, work in evolutionary genetics, and it just has come full circle to be a student and now giving back as a teacher.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's great.
Waiakea High School.
So now let's talk about the science fair in Hawaii.
Yes.
You know, this is like the Passover question. Why is this science fair different from all other science fairs that you've seen and participated in? What makes it special down there at the convention center in Honolulu with Neil Atabara at your side?
It's amazing to Blair there because he is a Waiakea High graduate. So he has seen how science runs at Waiakea and what we pride ourselves on. You know, this year I've brought the most students I've ever entered. I've had 7 students, 6 different projects come with us, and all students have been doing amazing things. I'm so thankful to the University of Hawaii at Hilo to offer up their professors and research scientists there to help us help our students. And we have just great apps that, you know, go unnoticed a lot of times on Oahu and in the nation. So we're just trying to highlight the things that Hilo is doing at our hometown. I hope to continue this for many years. It's great for myself to be part of the district science fair committee now and get my in and helping all students in our district.
Good, great. Okay, let's start talking to your students. Let's talk to Felix first. I saw Felix and I remember him. Did I meet you, Blair, too? Did I meet you when I was there at the science fair?
I don't believe.
Oh, but I remember Felix.
I met you.
Something distinctive about you, Felix. I don't know what it is, but we have plenty of video about you. Yeah. So Felix, what was your project? State the case, okay?
Well, I guess to give a little bit of background, oil spills, they're a really big problem today. And we have a really fragile and unique environment. And so because of the oil that we use here in Hawaii as well, there's a huge, we can have oil spills here. And if one does occur, we'd be really ill-equipped to fight it because we're short on resources in comparison to other. And we don't know of many marine bacteria or microorganisms here that can degrade oil and so I set out to find marine bacteria here in Hawaii from the Big Island that can degrade aromatic hydrocarbons which make up crude oil. And through a lot of screening with the help of my mentor.
Who was your mentor? Who's your mentor,
Dr.
Felix?
Jonathan.
Say it again?
He's with the biology department at Dr. Jonathan Awaya.
Okay.
He's with the at the University of Hawaii at Hilo.
Mm-hmm.
And through the screening and isolation, I managed to find bacteria that are suited to marine conditions that can pretty much eat oil and clean up oil spills. And they prove that we have an availability of these types of microorganisms here at home. And I'm working more with them as we speak, so to say. I'm working on identifying them through sequencing.
You're in the 12th grade and you're working on sequencing?
11th.
Okay.
grade.
I can imagine what's going to happen when you get to 12. So have you got any names of bacteria for us?
Well, actually, but as soon as the sequencing comes in and I have a chance to work with it, I'll know for sure what they are.
Okay. I didn't tell you this when we met, but my early life was in the United States Coast Guard. And as you may know, the Coast Guard is involved in oil spills. And one of the big, efforts that they have undertaken over the years is to try to do exactly what you're doing. So when, you hit pay dirt on this, you should contact them and tell them there's something you want to show them. They'll be very interested. So what are your conclusions then? I mean, I always ask, there's always a bunch of questions you ask when you ask students in the science fair what they're doing. So you ask them what the problem was, you ask them what their methodology, what their hypothesis was, what their methodology was, right? And what their scientific conclusions are. So what are your scientific conclusions?
It's still, I guess, a work in progress, my project. I plan to continue it, but so far, here in Hawaii, we do actually have marine bacteria suited to aromatic hydrocarbon degradation, that they're also suited to marine conditions. And so in the near future, I plan to work more closely with these bacteria and first of all, determine and possibly work with their inner workings, what makes them do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Is it true that the bacteria off Hilo are different than the bacteria off Honolulu? That's a joke.
Well,
some of my best friends
we
are
do not have
bacteria.
race, so.
I'm sorry, Whitney. What were you saying?
No, I was just going off of that. We don't have all of why. We may not have the same bacteria, but, there have been studies found that there are those marine microorganisms that are on Oahu that may be different from the ones here.
Yeah, interesting point. Let's take a short break, you guys. That's Whitney Aragaki. She's a science teacher at Waiakea High School, and two of her students, Felix Peng and Blair Martin. When we come back, we're going to talk to Blair and find out what his project was. We'll be right back.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. I am Anu Hittel, and I host a show on climate change. It's called Climate Change Beyond Outrage, and in it, we go beyond outrage to look at solutions to global climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. Join me every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time. Aloha, namaskar, and goodbye.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I'm fortunate to be able to host Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com. I hope you'll join in with us every Tuesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. to see the interesting people we have to share with you their information. Aloha.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, wishing you to welcome and join us to see us on Hibachi Talk on Think Tech Hawaii. Join my co-hosts, Gordo the Tech Czar and Andrew the Security Guy, every Friday from 1300 to 1345. We look forward to seeing you. We'll talk tech and we'll have some wee bit of fun. And remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha!
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on Think Tech Hawaii. I hope that you will tune in and watch the show. It is inspiring and uplifting and educational. Also, we talk with artists of all different ilk. We talk with them about what they do, how they do it, and most importantly, most dear to my heart, why they do it. And it never ceases to be fascinating when you get the answer to that question. I hope you'll join us on Center Stage, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoons. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're back to school here on Think Tech Tech Talks with Whitney Aragaki, science teacher at Waiakea High School in Hilo, and her two students, Felix Peng and Blair Martin. We're talking about innovation at Waiakea High School and science in the most pure form that you can get. So we've heard from Felix about bacteria, and now we're going to talk to Blair about his project. So Blair, what is your project? Tell us, state the case,
So, while Felix did like a traditional science fair project, I did more of an engineering project. So what I did was I created an application for downtown Hilo's historical walking tour to promote sustainable tourism in downtown Hilo. So I guess that's just the project in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
To the application on the App Store. It's an Android application right now, but in the future I want to import it into the Apple iOS so that I'm able to reach a broader market and get this information out to as much people as possible.
So what was your methodology as you approached this problem? By the way, one of the things you guys might do is see if you can get a better Skype connection for us next time, because we're going to do this again, right, Whitney? And we want to improve the Skype connection. This is a show by Skype to Hilo on the Big Island. And you know what we say here at Think Tech, we say every day better. Okay, so tell us, Blair, what was your methodology in approaching this problem?
Okay, so in the project, I really had no idea about Android programming at all, so I actually reached out to Dr. Keith Edwards of the University of Hawaii Hilo about learning about whole programming and user interface design on that front. And as far as designing the application in the context of itself, I did a little bit of research on other tour applications, other map applications out in the market already to see what other people are doing.
What did you find?
So I was able to find that people do have tour applications for like large cities like Tokyo, New York. They have large tourist companies building tours for their city using smartphone and geolocation on the platform. But there's nothing that really focuses in on historical context in the scale of a small town like Hilo. So I wanted to implement those already existing systems into downtown Hilo's tour.
Okay. Whitney, what do you think of these projects?
These projects are, I want to represent the diversity that we do at Waiakea, from engineering to biology and chemistry. I think that these students have been going above and beyond anything that we as teachers could teach them in our classes that we offer. And I'm so thankful to the University of Hawaii for push to go beyond themselves as well.
So I'm wondering how the process works from a teacher's point of view. So is this a class? I mean, is it a class called Science Fair? Or is this extracurricular where it happens after hours and you work with them, you know, on an after hours non-class kind of counseling basis? How do you handle it as a teacher?
As a teacher, we have at Waiakea High School the directed study science runs after school, and students can enroll and work on science or projects throughout their after-school time. Felix did that for the past 2 years. Students did that for 2 years. And this year, we are fortunate enough that our school is one of the first schools in the nation to start AP Capstone. So we have AP Seminar this year and research, and these are 2 courses that focus directly on research-based projects. So these students see me every single day, although we do have a different curriculum to move forward in the class. I do see them often so that we can work on their science fair, get them starting in the summertime, and getting these projects done by the district science fair.
So is it optional? Is it voluntary? Is it required course? How do you select the students?
No.
How do they select themselves?
It's not mandatory. However, I do all students. Whenever I see a student with potential, the first thing I ask them is, have you ever considered a science fair project? Many of them do science fair because at Waiakea intermediate, they do science fair as a mandatory project. And so they really help us out by getting it going down there. And so when they come up to high school with the skills and the ideas and the mindset that's for to do these research projects year round. So I do seek them out. Some of them find it's a great opportunity to meet new students that I may not see in my actual classes, but work with them after school.
Yeah. So, what about this whole process of presentation? You know, I know the science fair is not only about innovation and science and solving, you know, scientific problems. It's about getting up and being able to speak about it to strangers. In fact, I would like to say that is life in general. Life in general is a matter of getting up and speaking to strangers. And the better you are at that, the better you are at life. Sorry, that's the way it is, the human condition. So how do you get your kids, I should ask them, you know, Felix and Blair, how do you, you know, get trained up to be able to speak to strangers? Do you talk in front of a mirror? Do you talk in front of, you know, Whitney? Do you talk in front of your parents, or all of the foregoing?
It's really all of the above. For me personally, Mrs. Aragaki, Whitney, she trained us a lot during this year. We met one-on-one so that we would be prepared for the science fair.
Yeah, Felix?
Definitely, Mr. Aragaki helped a lot by doing practice interviews with us for our projects and kind of helping us get accustomed to projects as well as we could. And another part of it is just learning to talk to strangers and crowds, especially being class president and having to deliver speeches also helps.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the science fair for sure. I mean, as Neil Adabara always says, it showed him that he could compete with the best of them, that he had confidence in science, that a little light went on in his head at some point and said, I can do this. I can do this at a world-class level, and I am going to do it, and I'm going to dedicate my life to it. And the other part of that, of course, is talking to people and showing that kind of confidence, not only in the science fair, but in the rest of life. So, did you guys win? What happened? Tell me the result of your efforts. Whitney, what happened to these guys?
Okay, so Felix got third place at our district science fair, and Blair got fourth place at the district science fair. So they did very well at the district level. And at the state, Felix was awarded a trip from the Hawaii Academy of Science to the Intel International Science Engineering Fair coming up in Phoenix every May.
Mm-hmm.
And he also won a nice award from the Queens Medical Center and a teacher award, so for our school. And Blair won a $1,000 scholarship from the McInerney Foundation and another teacher award too. So we're
Wow.
on front.
You guys are stars. How do you feel about it? Do you feel the kind of confidence I was talking about? Do you feel like you can go to the mainland or anywhere, to Oslo and win prizes in Oslo and all that? You know, do you feel confident now? Or are you intimidated by this process that you're about to enter into?
It's definitely reassuring getting the awards. It just really shows that the work done is, I guess you could say, paid off, or in a literal sense, yeah.
Felix?
It's just really nice, and as Blair said, reassuring to see that the work that we put in is being recognized. The Academy or by various agencies interested in our projects.
Yeah, that's great. And don't forget Neil Adabara. He's a poster child for all of us. But I still think it's the water. So, you know, there's a continuum here. You know, you guys have been in the science fair. You are in the science fair this year, and you will be, at least to the extent you can. Let's see, I guess, Felix, you have another year to go before you graduate. So you're going to be in the science fair next year, right?
Yes, definitely.
And what about, you know, what about the you know, the project? Will it be the same? I mean, sometimes I get the feeling, Whitney, sometimes these kids, they settle on a project early on, they go to the science fair and they refine it every year, and it gets more and more sophisticated and worthy of you know, the attention by the scientific community. Is that what happens? Are these guys doing that?
I think these definitely go on to pursue these passions. Because once you do a whole year of science fair, you tend to take on that passion for whatever, Felix may not go into microbiology, but these lab skills, the ability to just think on your feet and figure out ways when nothing's going right, how to fix that, is going to help him soar when he goes off to college. And Blair, in robotics and engineering, he's been using these skills, and it's actually called a project in a different way. And when he goes on to computer science in college, it's going to be so much easier for him. Definitely. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree that students go on, yeah.
So, actually, Whitney, you titled the show Innovation at Waiakea High. And it's more than science, it's innovation within science. It's solving a problem with a really creative solution. And I am always, here at Think Tech, we see this all the time. And I wonder what you mean by that. I wonder what these students have done to demonstrate innovation beyond the four corners of the problem, where they're thinking outside the box. Isn't that what it's all about?
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm reminded of an email I got early this morning. Really early this morning. Somebody sent me a video of an Israeli television program. Now, in Israel, there's all kinds of discontent, and there's protesting, and young kids throw stones at the Israeli soldiers and all that. And sometimes that escalates to violence. So the Israelis, the scientific community in Israel had to figure out how to stop these kids from throwing stones and gathering in this kind of violent protest. How do we do this without hurting them? We don't want to hurt them. So what did they do? I just love this story. I'm going to tell you guys the story and see how you feel about it. Okay, the Israelis went into their biochemistry lab. They found a certain mixture, a certain compound that smelled awful. It was the smell of a skunk and maybe some poo, okay? Poop, as it were. And they put that in a water cannon, and they gently, with mist, they floated this material all over the crowd. Now everybody stank, and the stink lasts for weeks. You can't get it off you. Shower as you will, it's on you. And this is so stinko. They don't use that word, only we use that word. This is so stinko that these kids don't want to do that anymore. And immediately the crowd dispersed. And in this TV serial, they had a number of clips showing how this water thing dispersed crowds over and over again, predictably, without hurting anyone. And I thought that was just a picture of creativity. Now, mind you, it's too bad that they had to do this. It's too bad they had to go to the laboratory and figure out how to make something that smells bad. But it was a solution that did exactly what the problem needed without hurting anyone. That's what I mean by out of the box. So can you guys tell me, in your scientific travels, what kind of innovation did you come up with that was out of the box? Felix, let's go to you first.
Maybe a little less out of the box, but kind of unexpected and during my research, my original plan was to just screen for these bacteria using a specific method, and they just keep doing it until I found something. But while I was doing this process, something interesting kind of came up. These bacteria began growing, and they were showing me these really interesting and peculiar signs. And so I believe that they were a certain type of bacteria, that reducing bacteria, that are generally known to be able to degrade aromatic hydrocarbons. And this led my research off in a completely different and new direction. And actually, it's what got me my results. It's what helped me find, ultimately, the two bacteria that I ended up with.
All right, there we go. All right, that's what you got to do every time, right, Blair? What did you do that was creative and unanticipated?
Well, going to the project, I really had no knowledge of Android programming, so this project was essentially a learning experience for me. So as I began for my application, I encountered a lot of errors that I just really didn't know what what's wrong with the program, and why it's wrong. So I just had a way out, engineer my way out of these problems in a way that wouldn't necessarily be conventional for computer scientists, but in the end, it worked for the end application.
Nicely put. So Whitney, how do you get your students to be innovative and think out of the box? What kind of, what kind of environment do you set up? What kind of climate do you create in the classroom that makes them like these guys?
I guess the climate setup is very self-directed and independent. Anytime that, I do a lesson, it never happens the way that I anticipated. And that's because these kids are probably smarter than I am. So whenever I say, we're going to do this, no, we think that we're going to do this. And they learn, and I love it. I love that about my job, is that no day is ever the same. No student, so every day is changing. And we set up discussions every single week that we just talk about things that are going on in our life.
Yeah, that's great.
That's going about in our life. Like, let's talk about it. And in that, that's the sense of engineering. Engineering a social change. We're doing it, but I think that's one of their favorite parts of class, because less writing, less presenting, but more talking. We love it.
Well, it integrates everything, doesn't it? I mean, you get to know your students as people. You get to know them down deep. They get to know you. They get to know each other. So, I just wonder, they say the mark of a good teacher is a teacher who learns from her students. Are you learning from them?
I learn from them every day. Every single day.
Hope you guys don't mind teaching the teacher, eh?
Not at all.
So what's the future? I mean, first let me ask your students, how do you see your lives going forward in science? I mean, are you both committed to science? Are you going to make careers of science the way Neil Atabara has done that? How do you see your life unfolding? Is it too early for me to ask that question? Or have you got a thought about it already? What about you, Blair?
So next year I'll be attending California Lutheran University to pursue a major in computer science. So definitely see being a big part of my academic career there. Hopefully after getting my undergraduate degree, I'll be pursuing a master's degree along the lines of computer engineering.
Yeah, you have to watch the Steve Jobs movie.
Yeah.
You could make a lot of money, Blair. I hope when you make a lot of money, you will still talk to us again.
I'll definitely be back.
How about you, Felix? How do you see your life unfolding in science?
In terms of college major and career, I'm still kind of unmet. In the end, I'd like to still have a tie to science and be able to make an impact, whether it be like in science directly or on people who are interested in pursuing science.
Well, talk to the Coast Guard. There might be something there for you. So, Whitney, you're in a great spot. It's obvious that you're happy with what you do, happy with the people around you, happy with life in Waiakea. But where do you see your life, unfolding? Are you going to stay there for a career? How do you see that career unfolding? What are your aspirations within that career or outside that career?
Good question, Jay. Putting me on the spot here.
That's okay. Nobody's listening anyway.
Well, in that case, no. I do plan to stay in teaching for at least 5 to 10 more years. I think that it's one of the things that I never thought that I would come back. I never thought I would be a teacher when I was in high school or in college. Yet I found myself in a position in which I can't even leave it at this point. I love it so much. I think students stop caring as much as I do. I will stop. But I have not found that yet. The students care just as much as I do, or have more. That makes my job enjoyable every single day.
Yeah. Well, one other question that comes to my mind anyway is that here we are, we're talking to you in Hilo. And, I always say that Hilo, it generates a lot of smart people and a lot of science. But I wonder, how you feel about that, because we've been studying the relationship of the islands, if you will. I call it insular drift. Used to be they had old-fashioned ferries going back before, between the islands, and there was a lot of family connection between the islands. And now it costs a lot of money to take an airplane, and we have other ways to communicate, so we don't travel as much between and among the islands. Where does Hilo fit in all this? How do you see the role of Hilo and the neighbor islands in general in participating in the science fair, in generating students like this, who will benefit, ultimately, hopefully benefit the state, if not the country, and get rich, by the way. Don't forget, Blair. You got to get rich. You too, Felix. Where does Hilo and the neighbor islands play in Hawaii's development of science and technology?
Well, I think that Hilo plays an interesting. While we are not Oahu, and we don't ever plan to be, we do have a booming university right across the street where we personally are right now. There are scientists, world-renowned scientists here in Hilo doing amazing things. We have a school of pharmaceutical research and just sending out pharmacists to the world. We're doing so many things, and I think that we're in a place in which we can appreciate Indigenous because of our School of Hawaiian Language and Studies, and that we tend to appreciate more the cultural aspects of how science is run in both Indian form. Our students, whether they go off to University of Hawaii at Hilo or they go off to the continent, they're doing amazing things that many of them, including these two, want to come back. They want to come back and change our community and help it and just make Hilo better, but make our students always better. This is our goal, is to create a cohesive community of science research, of culture, and things that Oahu or any other neighbor island may not have. We have the Mauna Kea Observatory that are doing things to the stars. We have our School of Marine Biology program that is one of the most world-renowned places, and this is the only place in anywhere, I think, that you can go in the morning and surfing in the afternoon. This is a great place to be, and our students are thriving because they're here.
Fabulous. I want to say that I envy all three of you. Blair, I envy you because someday you're going to have a foundation and you're going to give money to the development of science in Hilo. Make a note of that. Write that down, okay? And Felix, I envy you because I know you're going to unlock the secrets of the universe, and you're going to do good with that. And I can see you on that track. It's wonderful to see that. And Whitney, you're having a great life. And I am so pleased to meet you. I'm so glad we ran into each other through Neil Atabara at the science fair. I hope that next year we do exactly the same thing. In fact, I hope we can do another show like this sometime soon and before the next science fair, because I'd like to meet more of your students. I'd like to talk to you more about this. And I think it's wonderful what's happening. And it's happening around you, Whitney. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you from all of us. Aloha, you guys. Thanks for being on Think Tech. It's great to talk to you. Back to school.